All right, so today we're going to dive into some pretty deep waters. We're going to be talking about Nietzsche.
Oh boy.
Yeah, Nietzsche. Specifically, his ideas about master-slave morality.
Right, yeah.
We're looking at some excerpts that really get into the core of this concept. And I think, it can really change how you look at the world, maybe even your own values.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really all about like, where do our ideas of good and bad even come from?
Yeah.
Nietzsche argued they're not just these like objective truths out there. They're
Yeah.
really perspectives that have been shaped by, power dynamics throughout history.
So it's not just about being good or bad, but
Mhm.
like, who gets to decide what those terms even mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
So Nietzsche identified these like two main types of morality,
Okay.
master morality and slave morality.
Okay.
And master morality originates with the powerful,
Okay.
Think like the ancient warriors or even like bold entrepreneurs today.
Right.
It's about, valuing strength, ambition, achievement.
So someone with master morality might see saying no, not as like being rude, but as asserting their own will and purpose.
Yes, exactly. Like they define their own values based on what enhances their power and morality. They're not necessarily cruel, but they're focused on like their own growth and achieving their goals.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But then what about the other side? Where does this slave morality come in?
Right. So slave morality, as Nietzsche saw it, emerges from the perspective of like the oppressed.
Yeah.
It's a reaction to suffering where values like humility, compassion, forgiveness,
Yeah.
these are elevated as a way to cope with hardship.
So instead of striving for power and achievement, it's about enduring and finding like solace in different virtues.
Precisely.
Okay.
Think of like the classic turn the other cheek philosophy.
Right.
Nietzsche saw this a lot in Christianity, which he felt sometimes glorified weakness over striving for individual power. And he wasn't saying these are bad values inherently,
Right.
but he was concerned about their potential consequences.
Okay, what kind of consequences? That's where his critique comes in, right?
Exactly. So Nietzsche argued that while slave morality might appear virtuous, it can become problematic when it leads to what he called resentment.
Resentment. That sounds pretty intense.
It is.
What did he mean by that?
Yeah, so it's this deep-seated resentment towards those who are successful or powerful. Imagine feeling held back or looked down upon, and that festering into a bitterness that colors your whole worldview.
So instead of striving for your own goals, you're stuck in this cycle of envy and resentment towards those who have achieved what you desire.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. And Nietzsche believed that resentment can be incredibly destructive, both individually and like as a society. It hinders creativity, discourages ambition, and can lead to a culture of conformity where mediocrity is celebrated.
Wow. I'm starting to see how this applies to the world today.
Yeah.
Do you think our society sometimes inadvertently rewards playing it safe instead of encouraging people to reach their full potential?
It's a question worth pondering, for sure. I mean, just think about how often we hear phrases like, don't rock the boat, or that's just how things are done.
Right, yeah.
Nietzsche would argue those are symptoms of a slave morality that has become too dominant.
Okay, so we've got these two opposing forces, master morality and slave morality, each with their own sets of values and potential pitfalls. But where do we go from here?
Right.
Did Nietzsche offer a way out of this master-slave trap?
He did.
Okay.
And that's where things get really interesting. He proposed this path towards what he called the Übermensch.
The Übermensch, that's often translated as Superman, right?
Yeah.
It sounds pretty epic,
Yeah.
but also a little intimidating.
Yeah, it definitely has like a dramatic ring to it.
Yeah.
But the concept is often misunderstood.
Oh, okay.
It's not about like superhuman strength or ruling over others. It's about transcending both master and slave morality to create your own values based on a deep affirmation of life. So think of it like an artist who breaks free from all the rules to create something truly unique and powerful.
So it's not about fitting into either category, but about forging your own path based on what truly matters to you.
Exactly. It's about self-mastery, becoming the author of your own life instead of blindly following a script written by others.
Wow.
It's a challenging path, but Nietzsche believed it was the only way to achieve true freedom and live a life worthy of its potential.
Powerful stuff.
Yeah.
All right, so
Yeah.
we're talking about forging our own path,
Right.
creating our own values.
Right.
That's a powerful concept,
It is.
but also pretty radical.
It is.
I mean, where do you even begin?
Yeah, it's It's definitely not like a quick fix or a one-size-fits-all solution.
Right.
The journey toward becoming the Übermensch, as Nietzsche saw it.
Right.
This is a lifelong process of self-discovery and growth,
Yeah.
requires questioning everything,
Yeah.
even the values that we hold most dear, to see if they truly align with who we are and what we want to achieve in life.
That sounds like a pretty intense process.
It can be,
Yeah.
yeah.
I can imagine a lot of people would resist that kind of self-scrutiny.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Why did Nietzsche think it was so important?
Well, because he believed that unexamined values can keep us trapped in this cycle of resentment and conformity,
Okay.
We might end up living a life that's dictated by like external pressures or societal expectations,
Yeah.
rather than one that's driven by our own authentic desires and aspirations.
So it's about breaking free from that herd mentality, as he called it,
Right.
and having the courage to define success on our own terms.
Exactly.
I'm starting to see why Nietzsche is considered such a challenging,
Yeah,
but also such an influential thinker.
he is. Yeah.
He's not giving us like easy answers,
Right.
but he's pushing us to ask these tough questions
Right.
about ourselves and the world around us.
That's a great observation, yeah.
Yeah.
Nietzsche's philosophy, it's not about like providing a comfortable set of rules to follow.
Okay.
It's about provoking us to think critically, to question assumptions, and to embrace the uncertainty that comes with genuine self-discovery.
Okay, back to this idea of the Übermensch.
Yeah.
You mentioned that it's often misunderstood.
Right.
What are some of the biggest misconceptions that people have about this concept?
I think one of the most common ones is that the Übermensch is like this superhuman being
Right.
with these extraordinary abilities.
Okay.
Almost like a comic book character.
Yeah, I can see how that image would come to mind
Right.
with a name like Superman.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But Nietzsche, he wasn't talking about like physical prowess or dominance over others.
Okay.
For him, the Übermensch was about like inner strength, about the will to overcome obstacles, to create something meaningful, and to constantly strive for self-improvement.
So it's less about outward appearances
Yeah,
and more about cultivating a certain mindset and inner drive to reach your full potential.
precisely.
Okay.
It's about becoming the best version of yourself, whatever that may look like for you. And that, of course, requires a deep understanding of your own strengths and weaknesses,
Right.
as well as the courage to embrace your individuality and pursue your own unique path.
It sounds like the Übermensch is more of a journey
Mm,
than a destination,
yeah,
a continuous process of growth and self-discovery.
that's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
It's not about achieving some fixed state of perfection,
Right.
but about embracing the challenges and setbacks that come with pushing beyond your comfort zone and striving for something more.
And that journey, I imagine, can be pretty daunting at times.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
What are some of the things that might stand in our way of achieving this kind of self-mastery?
Well, I think one of the biggest obstacles, as we touched upon earlier, is that tendency towards conformity.
Okay.
That pressure
Yeah.
to fit in and avoid standing out.
Yeah.
Nietzsche saw this herd mentality as a major impediment to individual growth and self-realization.
It's like that inner voice that tells us to play it safe,
Yes.
to not rock the boat, even if it means compromising our own dreams and aspirations.
Exactly. And that voice can be incredibly persuasive,
Yeah.
especially when it's reinforced by like societal norms, cultural expectations,
Right.
even our own fears of rejection or failure.
It makes you think about all the subtle ways that we're conditioned to conform,
Yeah.
whether it's through social media advertising or even just the expectations of our families and communities.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Nietzsche, he believed that breaking free from this conditioning requires this conscious effort
Okay.
to question those expectations, to challenge the status quo,
Yeah.
and to embrace the possibility of being different.
That sounds like it takes a lot of courage.
It does.
Not just the physical kind,
Right.
but the courage to be true to yourself, even when it means going against the grain.
You're absolutely right. It takes courage to step outside of our comfort zones,
Yeah.
to question the values that we've been taught,
Right.
and to pursue a path that might not be widely accepted or understood.
And that courage might even involve facing criticism or rejection
It might.
from those who are comfortable with the way things are.
Yeah, that's true. But for Nietzsche, the potential rewards of living an authentic life,
Right.
a life driven by your own values and aspirations, far outweigh the risks.
So how do we cultivate that kind of courage? Where do we even begin to break free from this herd mentality and start forging our own path?
Well, it starts with developing a strong sense of self-awareness.
Okay.
This means taking the time to really understand your own values, your motivations and desires.
So it's about getting to know yourself on a deeper level,
Yes.
beyond the surface level of who you think you should be
Right.
or who others expect you to be.
Precisely. And that often involves this process of introspection,
Oh.
of asking yourself some tough questions,
Yeah.
of challenging your own assumptions and biases.
Yeah.
It's about peeling back those layers of conditioning and societal expectations
Mhm.
to uncover your true self, the person that you are meant to be.
I love that analogy of peeling back the layers. It's like an archaeological dig
It is.
into the depths of our own psyche.
Exactly. And once we start to uncover those hidden depths, once we start to understand what truly motivates us, that's when we can begin to tap into our will to power, as Nietzsche called it.
Now, will to power sounds a bit intimidating.
Yeah, it does.
Like something out of like a superhero movie.
It does. It does.
What did Nietzsche actually mean by that term?
It's another concept that's often misunderstood.
Okay.
Nietzsche wasn't talking about power in the traditional sense of dominating others
Right.
or seeking external validation.
Okay.
For him, will to power was about self-mastery,
But
about channeling our inner strength and creativity to create something meaningful in the world.
so it's not about power over others,
Right.
but power within ourselves.
Precisely.
Okay.
It's about harnessing our passions, our talents, our unique perspectives
Yeah.
to make a positive impact, to leave our mark on the world in a way that aligns with our authentic selves.
That's a really empowering concept.
It is.
But it also begs the question, how do we direct that will to power
Right.
in a way that is both authentic and beneficial?
Yeah.
How do we ensure that it's not misused or corrupted?
That's where things get even more interesting.
Oh.
For Nietzsche, the expression of will to power wasn't about following a predetermined set of rules or guidelines.
Okay.
It was about creating your own values and living in accordance with them.
So it's about aligning your actions with your own internal compass.
Yes.
That sense of what feels right and true for you.
Exactly.
Right.
And that, of course, requires a deep understanding of yourself and your values,
Right.
as well as the courage to live in a way that might not always conform to societal norms or expectations.
It sounds like a challenging path,
It is.
but also a deeply rewarding one.
It is, yeah.
It's about embracing the freedom and responsibility that comes with creating your own meaning and purpose in life.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And while Nietzsche's philosophy might not offer easy answers or a step-by-step guide to self-mastery,
Yeah.
it does provide us with some valuable insights and tools for navigating this journey of self-discovery and personal growth.
And I think that's what makes his work so enduringly relevant.
It is.
In a world that often feels defined by external pressures and expectations,
Yeah.
Nietzsche reminds us that we have the power to choose our own path, to create our own values, and to live lives that are both authentic and meaningful.
I couldn't agree more. And while his ideas can be complex and challenging at times,
Yeah.
I believe there's something deeply liberating about Nietzsche's message. It's a call to embrace our individuality, to question everything, and to strive for a life that is truly our own.
Yeah. It's like he's giving us permission to break free from the mold, to question everything we've been taught, and create a life that truly reflects who we are at our core.
That's the beauty of Nietzsche's philosophy. It's a call to action,
Right.
an invitation to become like the artists of our own lives.
But that artistic process isn't always easy, is it?
Oh.
I mean, Nietzsche himself talked about the struggles and setbacks
Oh, yeah.
that come with this kind of self-creation. It's not all sunshine and roses, right?
Definitely not. No,
Right.
he was very upfront about the fact that this path requires a certain amount of resilience, a willingness to face discomfort.
Yeah.
There will be moments of doubt, of questioning,
Right.
of wondering if you're on the right track.
So how do we navigate those tough moments? How do we keep moving forward when the path gets rocky?
I think one of the key things Nietzsche emphasized was the importance of self-discipline.
Okay.
Not in like a restrictive sense,
Right.
but as a way of channeling your energy and focus towards your goals.
Yeah.
It's about developing like the mental and emotional fortitude to persevere even when faced with challenges.
So it's about building that inner strength, that resilience to weather the storms that inevitably come along.
Exactly. It's about cultivating the discipline to stay true to your values, even when it's tempting to take the easy way out or to conform to those external pressures.
I can see how that ties back into that whole idea of master morality,
Right.
that self-reliance and inner drive.
Absolutely. It's about taking ownership of your life, your choices, and your
Yeah.
destiny.
So if someone is listening to this and feeling inspired,
Yeah,
feeling that spark of the Übermensch within them.
right.
What's the one key takeaway you'd want them to remember?
Hmm.
What's the most important piece of advice you could offer?
I'd say start with a simple question.
Okay.
What are the values that are truly driving your life right now?
Mm-hmm.
Are they inherited from your family, your culture, your society,
Right.
or are they values you've consciously chosen for yourself?
So it's about taking that first step towards self-awareness,
Right,
that critical examination of what's truly important to you.
exactly. And from there, it's about having the courage to live in alignment with those values,
Yeah.
even if it means challenging the status quo or forging your own path.
It sounds like a journey that's both challenging and incredibly rewarding. And even though we've just skimmed the surface of Nietzsche's complex philosophy, I think this deep dive has given us a lot to think about.
I agree, and Nietzsche's work is full of these rich insights and provocations that
Mhm.
can continue to challenge and inspire us long after we finished reading him.
Well said. And on that note, we'll leave our listeners with one final thought from Nietzsche himself.
Okay.
He who has a why to live for can bear almost anyhow. So find your why, fellow deep divers, and keep exploring.